They can go to our website, Peraica.com, for more background information. As a result of the drop in the financial markets over the last 60 to 120 days, 4 months, we have experienced at the county a reduction in the reserves for payment of pensions from some $8 billion to $6 billion, $8.5 billion to $6 billion, a 25% loss in reserves as a result of the market tanking as it did. Now at the state level, it's got to be a lot higher. The pension fund reserves, which were depleted to begin with, must have been decimated by this drop in the marketplace.
Proportionally similar to what you've seen at Cook County.
25%?
The good news is that you need to look at the long term and say, these things will go up and down over time. But the fact of the matter is, it's like a credit card bill that stays unpaid. And if you only make the minimum payment, the interest eventually is going to start to eat you alive, and that's what's happening here.
But why do we allow double payment, triple payment of pensions? We have in the state of Illinois over 3,000 people who collect more than one pension. When is the state legislature going to say enough is enough and let's cut this nonsense out?
We've taken some steps. As far we used to see this with school superintendents that would spike their salary before they left and then collect a fat pension. We've seen state legislators that have taken...
How about county board president when she left?
There you
Bobby
go.
Steele.
And I will tell you, I was the chief sponsor of the law to end that practice at the county level.
Yes.
There is something egregious for whether it's a county board president or a state legislator that goes through their career maybe making $50,000 or $60,000 at the high point in any given year, but then takes a job for 7 weeks with the governor's office and leaves, and their pension now is $100,000 a year, almost double what they ever made while working. They're going to make they're going to make double sitting on their rear ends at home.
I agree. Abuse on steroids in this state, and there's plenty of corruption tax. As you know, political science professor Dick Simpson at University of Illinois just issued a study that showed that $500 million every year gets lost to the corruption tax, waste, fraud, and abuse in state government, county government, city government. And we really need to do something about that as legislators, myself at the county level, yourself at the state level, to try to eliminate that corruption tax. I think it's really getting prohibitive. But the question I want to ask you is quickly about the number of taxing bodies in the state of Illinois. We're number one in the United States of America with almost 6,800.
Yep.
Taxing units of government. Pennsylvania has about 4,800. So we're almost a third higher than every other state in the union. Why can't we get rid of these taxing bodies?
You know what's funny, Tony? The only categories that we lead the country in are the ones that we don't want to lead the country in. The number of taxing bodies, funding disparity between school districts. Now, we had an opportunity to do something about that with the vote for a constitutional convention last time around.
Which I supported.
You supported it. I supported it. We found ourselves in the minority of folks that did support it. All the special interest groups, all the powers that be, on the left and the right, opposed it, mostly out of fear-mongering. But with that constitutional convention, we could have reduced the number of taxing bodies, reduced the number of school districts that we have, had a recall provision, had a progressive income tax, whatever it is that you may have wanted to get done to have real reform. The voters had the opportunity to do it. The powers that be spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a propaganda campaign against it, and it failed.
Right.
It was a tragic opportunity.
Well, hopefully
that
we'll
was
get
lost.
another chance somewhere down the road.
Well, but the only guaranteed chance we're going to have to even vote on it again is going to be 20 years from now.
Right.
You can put it on there through a referendum.
Not in our lifetime, Dana.
Well, hopefully it's still in my lifetime. But we could do it by referendum. It's so tough to get the support to do it. But this was a chance to put it in the voters' hands at a time when they're upset, and understandably so. You know this. They're upset with state government, county government, city government, suburban government. It's a perfect storm, and I thought if it was ever going to happen,
well, it was hard to overcome the union interest, which came out against it forcefully, and teachers' union in particular worried about their pension rights being stripped away, which was a misnomer, by the way.
And I maintained that all along.
Yeah, but this is the kind of fraud that's perpetuated out there.
I maintained all along that their pension rights were constitutionally guaranteed. I have a strong labor record that I'm proud of. I wouldn't have done anything to hurt them.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we had an opportunity to really make significant differences. And it was interesting, though. You had anybody from the NRA to the teachers union to the city of Chicago to Cook County, anybody that had a stake in keeping the status quo was against the Constitutional Convention. And for better or worse, we're going to get the status quo for a while.
the taxpayers get the short end of the stick once again. For all the viewers who want to get some more detail about all these topics that we're discussing, please go to our website, Peraica.com, or call us at 773-735-1700. We're also out on the Twitter. We have a Twitter account, twitter.com/Tony Peraica, or go to our Facebook, MySpace, or any other means of communication. We're all over to YouTube, Blip TV, and so forth. So this program will be running on those medium as well. I want to ask you about two things that are close and dear to your heart because we're running out of time here. Number one is the issue of tax increment financing district. It's one of these esoteric points that nobody, their mind clouds over when you talk about TIFs. And the second issue is the ethics reform, which you championed, but it fell short in the state legislature. Going to the TIFs, tax increment financing districts, Mayor Daley has used them to his advantage to reward his friends and punish his enemies in a great way. And we're not talking about 50 cents here. We're talking about $500 million sitting in the TIF account at the control of Mayor Daley without any oversight by the city council.
And let's be more realistic about that. You're talking about $500 million just in surplus. That's not counting the hundreds of millions that actually get used. And as you said, it is outside of the authority of the city council, the elected representatives. It basically becomes a supplemental piggy bank. And
how could that happen, even by Crook County standards? How can that happen?
Voters don't pay attention.
Why doesn't the state legislature do something about that?
If you start to talk to most people about TIFs, their eyes glaze over.
Right.
If they understood the impact that it has on their property tax bill, if they're a property owner,
right,
or on their rent, if they're a renter, because that gets passed through. If they understood the impact, they would not put up with this. We're looking at some legislation right now that would either work on having that surplus money refunded to the taxing bodies. Now, keep in mind, city deficit right now about $400 million. Mm-hmm. The TIF surplus about $500 million. We could put about $100 million back to the city, $50 million back to the county, $250 million to the Chicago Public Schools and the Board of Education. These are taxpayer dollars that we simply want used for the intentions that they were intended for, and not simply to sit there as a supplemental piggy bank.
Right. And Mayor always goes to the citizenry in the city and the county of Cook and cries poor. We have no money. We have to regretfully raise your taxes. The CTA is broke. The Chicago Public Schools are broke. The city is broke. Well, why are you broke with all this money slushing around? You've got a huge reserve fund from the lease of the parking meters, the tollway, garages, and you've got all this money sitting in a TIF account. You've got billions of dollars sitting there, and they're not using it. They want to raise taxes again.
And if this isn't a rainy day, I don't know what is. Mm-hmm. But when we look at this situation right now, something's got to give. I don't know when, I don't know what, but people need to pay attention. We've seen in Chicago, you're only going to get government as good as you demand. They need to start demanding much more.
I got to ask you a question before I forget. You ran for Congress when Rahm Emanuel joined the White House, and that didn't work out as you had hoped. But are you planning on running again for that seat?
No, I got to tell you what, it was a fascinating opportunity. It was an honor to have the chance to run. I finished second in a 12-way primary in a special election. I think Mike Quigley is doing and is going to do an excellent job. Mike and I were friends, are friends, will be friends, and I think there's enough work to do in Springfield and Chicago to keep me busy closer to home.
Now that Commissioner Quigley is Congressman Quigley, and that seat has opened up, it was filled by committeemen, and you're one of the committeemen in that district. Correct. By Ms. Gaynor, Bridget Gaynor. Are you perhaps thinking about running for the county board seat yourself?
Well, I actually live in Forrest Claypool's district,
okay,
and Forrest is not running again, so there is a
open seat.
There's a vacancy in there. It's really a matter of where I want to roll my sleeves up and try to go to work. Yourself and some of your colleagues have been doing a yeoman's job at trying to clean up Cook County government. You've got a lot of work ahead of you. There's a lot of work ahead of us at the state level. I'm looking, as you and I are taping this, it's a few weeks before petitions go out, and I'm trying to figure out where it is I can do the most good. I've always said I wouldn't run for an office unless I thought I could improve it, and I think there are good improvements to be made at both levels. I want to see where I can do the best job.
I can say for myself that I would love to see you at the county board, so I hope you consider seriously running for Forrest's seat.
I appreciate that. I don't know all your colleagues feel that way, but I appreciate that you
do. Too bad. Let me ask you a question about Todd Stroger's performance. I mean, the man has been pilloried out there.